Happy Friday. Who is ready for the weekend? All right, last week I had some mic issues, so I want to make sure that all is good here. Can everybody tell me who's watching? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. It looks like I am okay here with all of my speakers, but let me know. If not, I'll be talking. I'll have to re-say everything like I did last week. Welcome to the live today. I am so excited. I haven't spoken about the female consumer on this live yet, and I've been doing it for a few months now. And so I'm excited to talk about the world's most influential consumer. Y'all, write this down. The world's most influential consumer is the woman. Yay. Hey, Tracy. Hi, Allison. I'm glad you can hear me. Gentlemen, any business owner out there that is listening right now, and ladies, I already know you know this, but lean into this because this will help build your confidence. Women are the world's most influential consumer. They influence over 85% of all household purchases, and that is ginormous. She is the chief purchasing officer. She's the chief medical officer. She is the travel agent. She is the chef, the tutor, the caregiver. She does it all. What does that mean for anybody in the automotive space? Because I have to go there because I do have a ton of automotive followers. She outpurchases men, gentlemen. Let's go through some stats here. Over 85% of all vehicle sales when in a coupled relationship. And if you don't have your pen and paper, get this now, write it down. I want you to keep this at heart. 85% when in a coupled relationship, those purchases are influenced by women. So when a man comes into your dealership, please know that the woman is saying yes or no. I'm going to tell you a story about that personal story in just a second. Here is another stat for you. Crazy important. Women outpurchase men in new vehicles. 60 to 65%. Again, depending on the study you look at, the statistics you look at. Good morning, Wendy. Or afternoon, I guess you say. It's 11 o'clock, mid-morning. Women outpurchase men. 60 to 65% of all new vehicles are purchased by women. I let that one sink in. But here's so you're thinking, oh, sales. Okay, yeah, cool. Women purchasing. I mean, I make money in sales, but what's really the through line for me that, brings real profit to the dealership is the service drive. All right, I got a stat for you here too. 65 to 70% of all ROs, of all repair orders, are said yes to and paid for by a woman, which directly correlates to the percentage of women that are buying new vehicles on your sales side. Full stop. She is the world's most influential consumer, and I know in the automotive space, we think about how important women are, but we actually do nothing about tailoring the experience to her. And it's such a huge miss. I believe that if you design your experience, if you cast your experience wide enough to capture the world's most influential consumer, the woman, you keep both man and woman. Now, if you design the experience for him, which most organizations in and outside of the automotive space do this, they design the experience for him because 80-ish% of the world's executives are still men, which means that the experience is designed by men for men, and in the automotive space, it's delivered by men as well. You're missing the mark. You'll keep him, but you'll lose her. If you do nothing in 2026 with the guest experience, if you don't want to, roll up your sleeves and dig in and take a look at the guest journey, if you don't want to create non-negotiable standards, if you think, meh, I don't really need that. I have marketing leads that are coming through the door. I don't need to work on my loyalty. You spend a lot of money getting them in there. I would think you want to work on retention and loyalty, but to each one's own. If you decide I'm going to do nothing with CX, I would say at least focus on the female consumer. And there's just these little touches you can make in the guest journey that make a huge impact in the experience she has. And so you can make these little pivots to create these really big wins with the world's most influential consumers. So before we go to the little pivots that I'm going to give you that you can work on this year, if you decide to do nothing else with the guest experience but focus on her, I want to talk about the physiological differences between men and women, because there is a reason why women want something different. There's a reason why women want an experience that is different from men, and it's physiological. It is something that is wired in our brain from birth. Now, I know that there are men and women that might be have a little bit of both of these physiological differences. They may cross each other. So this is generalized, but it is the majority. So if you have your pen and paper, let me know. Put it in the chat. I want you to write these things down. And gentlemen, if I don't teach you how to serve the female consumer, I am going to teach you how to be a better husband. I'm going to teach you how to speak wife or girlfriend. So first of all, the first major physiological difference between men and women is that the women's limbic brain, so her emotional and memory hub of her brain. Hi, Laura. I got a comment here. I'm going to look at it. How do you think women want to experience AI in the dealership? Oh, I love that question. So let me talk about the physiological differences first, and I'm going to come right back to your question, Laura. The physiological differences, one is that your limbic brain is double the size of a man's. And so what does that mean? That means everything that a woman feels and remembers. So the limbic brain encompasses the hippocampus, which is your memory hub of your brain, and then the limbic section, which is your emotional hub of your brain, which means women feel more, remember more, and they expect more. So gentlemen, if you have a wife, girlfriend, a daughter, a girl that's a friend, any woman in your life, mother, grandmother, and they remember a fight in grave detail from like 5 years ago, it's not her fault, but it is your problem. No, but for real, women, they feel more greatly, and that is a huge, huge difference. Our limbic system is double the size of a man's. Another huge physiological difference between men and women is that women communicate with both the left and right side of their brain with logic and creativity. We actually have more neural pathways and more gray matter that meshes both of our hemispheres of our brain together. And what that means is that when we speak and when we communicate, we use detail. We also care about the finer little things, the little details in an experience or in a conversation. We will pick up on words. We will pick up on smells. We will pick up on all the little touch points that a man won't necessarily pick up on. And we will do this, and it will either create an experience we want to be a part of, or conversation we want to be a part of, or it will detour that experience or that conversation, or detour us from wanting to create that relationship. A man communicates with just logic. Point A to point B, path of least resistance. A man wants a utilitarian experience. This is what I want. Show me how to get it. Let me pay and let me get out. Path of least resistance. A woman wants a hedonic experience. So if we think about what a hedonic experience is, it's an experience of the senses. It's everything that encompasses what the six senses are. So that means the lighting, that means the temperature, that means the smell, that means the tattered, whether you have tattered and old magazines in your weight room, or the smell of burnt coffee, or you haven't actually sat where a guest sits and you see dirty marks all over the floor, or coffee spills on the counter. All of that matters to her. The hedonic experience is an experience that actually shifts the way a woman feels. So I'm going to go back to Laura's comment here where she says, how do you think women want to experience AI in the dealership, either in sales or service? So that's an incredible question. Because women want a full-on hedonic experience, they want to create real connection and have a relationship with the person that is serving them. AI needs to be used as a tool and not a replacement. Women often get frustrated when they can't get a hold of an individual, but they also want the clear-cut pathway and the transparency in communication. So when you use AI in the dealership, I want you to really think about, I'm going to step back just 1 second. When we put tools in place, I want you to ask yourself this question, and you don't have to, you can put it into the chat if you want, or you can write it down, but I want you to ask yourself, when I put a tool in place, do I decide to put that tool in place to make my life easier, your employee's life easier, or do you put that tool in place to make your customers' life easier? Because there is a stark difference between whether you do it for yourself or whether you do it for your customer. And the difference is the way the process rolls. And more often than not, we put a tool in place like AI, call answering systems, the chatbots on the website, and I mean, all the different ways that AI, returning phone calls, booking appointments, we put AI in place to help us. And it's actually not put in place to make it easier for the customer. Now, if we were to put AI in place or a tool in place to make it easier for the customer, we would take into account the customer needs and wants. I once did a overhaul of website research in the automotive space. And the amount of times AI frustrated me, it was every single website. I couldn't get a hold of a live person. When AI, called me, I couldn't get the information I wanted, and when I wanted to get to a live person, they weren't able to connect me. When I tried to get an email or a phone number, and I'm in the chat with the AI, I was unable to receive any information. They kept just saying, "What's your email? What's your phone number?" And so AI isn't human. And AI or any tool, whether it's technology or anything, any process you put into place, should be put into place based off of the needs of the customer. And the process should be built from where the customer stands versus where you stand. It should make the life of the customer better. You should be able to move your customer from where they are to somewhere better with this tool. And if the tool doesn't do that, then you should second guess whether or not you should put that tool into place. Now, I think there is a place for tools on the back end, but that should never be forward facing. It should never be guest facing. So, Laura, to answer your question, AI in dealerships is incredible as long as it is meant for the convenience of the customer. As long as it shows empathy and compassion. I was asked to listen to a few recorded calls from an AI bot that was answering emails or answering phone calls to be able to book appointments. And the thing that it lacked, I mean, it was great response. It was incredible. It heard everything I said, but the thing that it lacked was a response to the emotion. So the example of the call that I listened to is that unfortunately somebody couldn't make their appointment because they had a funeral. And it was a woman. They had a funeral to go to. And it was very cold and cut and dry, and there was no switch in empathy. It was like, okay, we'll book your appointment. We'll reschedule. A human, hopefully, would say, I am so sorry for your loss. How can I make it better? Maybe that human, if they took that call, would collect that golden nugget. And if it's a customer that you know and loves you and trusts you and is with you, you'd be able to send them flowers. So AI is something that 1000% can be used. A woman wants to have it there to support her, but not replace the human. I hope that answers your question, Laura. They want it because they want the transparency, they want the convenience, but it can't be at the risk of losing the relationship with the human that's supposed to serve her. Because people don't do business, especially women, don't do business with the brand. They're not tied to the dealership group or the Mr. Dealer's name on the building. They're tied to the human that's serving them every day. And if that gets lost, then you're going to lose your guest. Tracy says here, I find AI helps with convenience when working properly, and in-person helps with the trust, and together they accomplish important service points. 1000%. I believe there's this, you know what? I'm going to get up. Hold on one second. I'm going to pull. I've never done this before on a live. All right. I use this. Awesome. I'm glad you found that helpful, Laura. So I use the infinity loop for a lot of things, but I'm going to explain the marriage between AI and the human interaction. So we have the infinity loop. I hope y'all can see that. I know the lighting's a little off. And let's say here, this is AI, and the loop goes in, and then over here is the human. I'm going to call it HC, the human connection. And then it continues. So AI in, booking the appointment, we're confirming the appointment. They arrive for the appointment. They have the human connection. That human connection builds trust and loyalty because you want your guest to say, I like you, I know you, I trust you. Man or woman, but it's on steroids for women. She needs to like you, know you, trust you in order to say yes to you. And if you want to make price irrelevant, if you want to increase your RO and increase your conversion from call to appointment, and increase that conversion from appointment to the yes for the RO, then you need to create that loyalty and that trust. So you bring together that human connection, and somewhere in here, right here, this through point, right in the center, that's where the magic happens. So right to Tracy's point, I'm going to put this back up on the screen here. Right to Tracy's point is that when AI and when technology, we call it AI now, but technology, when technology works together with your human connection, then you have the most incredible cross-section of transparency, of convenience, of clarity. And I actually teach a lot about the C qualities with my one-on-one coaching clients. And this actually works well here too, because when the C qualities are exuded from a service team, from a customer, we're looking at clarity, we're looking at compassion, we're looking at convenience, we're looking at courageousness, and that courageousness from the client's point of view, the guest's point of view, is that they're going to say yes and trust you. Confidence, those C qualities only happen when you have these two working well together. Now, let's say your AI is fantastic. Let's say your technology is amazing. I don't even think you can see what's going on there with the scribbles anymore, but let's say that everything works phenomenally from a technology point of view. But when your guest comes in, because they're still driving their vehicle in, they're still walking into your dealership doors, they're still making the purchase in person, they're still saying yes to the RO in person, and your people are cold. And they don't care about the humans they're serving. And they decide, my life is too hard today, and so I'm going to take what's inside me. And what I talk about when I'm squeezed, I think we talked about the last call or the last live around what happens to you when you're squeezed in 2026, what comes out of you, that mindset. Well, here's the thing. When your team is squeezed, what comes out of them? So you've got great technology, book the appointment. It was easy. It was effortless. Your guest decides, okay, I'm ready to drive into the dealership, and I'm being greeted by a human now that does not want to serve me. They're gone. They're gone. Here's something, though, that you might not actually think is possible. Roll with me for a second. If you have human connection, so say you've had a messy appointment, the confirmation didn't come up, the technology glitched, but you come in and you're greeted with a smile and you're greeted with a warm welcome, and they use their guests' names. When a woman walks in and they're asked, how is their day? Or they drive their car up to the service drive and somebody notices they're struggling. She's struggling with all her bags because, ladies, let's be true, we carry a ton of bags with us, and they come and open the door and help us into the waiting room, and then we can visit the service advisor. If those things happen, I can tell you, technology doesn't matter. You're going to keep your customer. Your customer is going to give you another shot. But if your technology is great and you screw up on the human connection, if AI is incredible but HC fails, you're losing your customer. If HC, human connection, is on point, your guest is going to give you another shot because they understand that you're human and that technology fails. If you want loyalty, if you want to make price relevant, then you need to focus on your human capital, your human connection, so that you are exuding those C qualities, which just feels yummy and warm and caring. And for a woman, that is what is the driver. The main driver is that connection, that confidence in the person that they're dealing with, the ability to have clarity, the ability to be able to compare what's going on. The C qualities are so, so important to her. If you're going to fix anything in 2026, if you're going to not even fix, but work on, elevate, because nobody needs to be fixed. I mean, whatever, forget about 2025 is gone. I always say you can't feed your history and your destiny at the same time. If you feed your history, you're going to starve your destiny. So let's focus on the only moment that can impact your destiny. And that is right now. That's why Now Is Non-Negotiable is our organization, and why we make non-negotiable standards. In every moment of every day, we have a choice to do or not to do something. And so if you're going to choose to work on anything to impact your future, choose to elevate your human connection, because your world's most influential consumer, the most influential consumer in your business, has a limbic brain that's double the size of a man's, and she needs that human connection. All right, I'm going to go over to comments here in just a second, or right now, I should say. Allison says, contrasting to that, AI intelligence helps book appointments. For sure, had a whole discussion, and I took down you can brilliantly weave it back into the car appointment, which is incredible because they do collect that information if you ask for it. Tracy says, yes, exactly. The human connection builds loyalty, and that loyalty allows grace when we need it as dealers. So if parts are delayed, there's longer wait times. If you have that human connection, they're going to give you grace. Now, here are a few things that you can change from an atmospheric point of view. And if you want, I have a CustomHER hedonic atmosphere checklist. Drop your email in the comments. I will have that sent out to you. I have a whole PDF, and you can do a walkthrough of your business to make sure it speaks to the female consumer. So the first thing I'd like to say is lighting. Lighting is huge. And temperature, especially as the seasons change. There are some dealerships that actually offer blankets when it's cold, and ensure that they're okay. Going around and ensuring that all of your marketing materials and everything they're not tattered. Women pick up on that. The smell of your dealership, whether in service or sales, extremely important. The lighting on the outside of your building, especially for nighttime visits. Women want to feel safe, and they want to be able to easily get themselves in and out of your dealership. The biggest one, though, is the bathroom. The women's bathroom is so important to creating a hedonic experience. I going to totally admit this. I'm going to be self-admittal right now, but like when I go into a restroom and the lighting is bad and I look older than I am, it instantly puts me in a bad mood. So I would suggest you take a look at your women's bathrooms and get your team members to walk through that bathroom, the female team members to walk through that bathroom with you and give you the suggestions in order to change it. The goal here is to make your female consumers feel at ease, make your female consumers feel confidence, and so that they can freely interact with your sales associates or your service advisors. And if you want them in a good mood, that lighting, the smell in the bathroom, those little elevated touches make a huge, huge difference. Now, when you're speaking to a woman, please do not assume that she cannot make that purchase. I can tell you that with the statistics, she is the one that's saying yes. I say in my book, CustomHER Experience, that the man is the head and the woman is the neck. So he may be there to make the decision, but let me tell you, she is turning his head one way or the other. This actually just recently happened in my life. My fiance wanted to buy a vehicle and he's been looking at it for a year. And I finally said, okay, babe, go for it. A year he waited until I said yes. And then we went and purchased the vehicle. But when I got to the dealership, the experience was less than stellar. Finally, the sales associate sort of acknowledged me and he said, what do you do for a living? And I said, oh, you do not want to know. And I laughed. So anyway, the female consumer is the world's most influential consumer. The way your atmosphere is in your dealership and in your service drive, as well as in your waiting room, is extremely important. Delivering little plus ones based off of golden nuggets, but just based off of thoughtfulness. Like if you know she's coming in and you have a snowy climate and it's the winter, have her car heated up so that, and her windshield's clean, and windshield and windows cleaned off, so when she gets in, it's safe and it's warm. And the opposite in the summer, put the air conditioning on, run it so it's cool. If you see her, struggling to get out of the car with everything that she needs to, bring out of her car, please help her out. Open the door. Put a 15-5 rule in place for every employee that you have when you're interacting with the guest. At 15 feet, you're smiling at everybody. At 5 feet, you're eye contact, you're executing the 5 E's, and you are greeting that guest. And if you know her name, use her name. If she comes in with a kid, get down to that child's level and greet yourself with the child, because that child being happy makes her life a heck of a lot easier. There are so many little things. My daughter, just I guess a couple weeks ago, was saying how much she loves her school. I got curious. Awesome. What 15-year-old tells you, especially 15-year-old girl tells you that, I love my school. And I said, well, what about it makes you love the school? And she goes, Mom, when I arrive at school every single day, there's always the principal and the team members are always outside greeting us by name and with a smile. And she goes to a pretty large school. And then she said, and when it rains, they come out with umbrellas to usher us in to the school. So if a high school can do this, so can you. And these little tidbits make a big difference on how she, the female consumer, feels about you. Now, here's one stat I want you to write down, and I say this stat all the time. 79% of your customers, men and women, by the way, will leave you for the competition based off of experience alone. And an experience is something that happens to you that impacts the way that person feels, so impacts the way you feel. And we make decisions based off the limbic brain. So we're going to come full circle here. A woman's brain, limbic brain, maybe her brain, but a woman's limbic brain is double the size of a man's. And so if that decision is based solely off of how she feels, which is what studies and statistics show us, and her limbic brain is bigger than a man, it is directly correlated to the importance of providing an experience that makes her feel good and special. So if you do anything this year in 2026, if you're going to commit to any non-negotiable standard when it comes to delivering a more elevated experience, focus on her. Because if you cast your experience net wide enough, if you design an experience that speaks to her, you will keep her and him. But if you keep the same experience that you've got going on right now with him in mind, you're going to lose her. With that, I'm going to let you go. I've kept you a little longer than normal, but I hope that you found this to be incredibly valuable. Also, if you're watching the replay and you want that checklist of the female consumer, just drop your email into the comments or DM me, and I will have that sent out to you. I wish you all the most amazing weekend. Thank you for attending. And remember, the woman is your most valuable consumer. And if you're going to be at NADA, y'all, okay, I'm going to go wait one more minute. If you're going to be at NADA, please come and say hi. I'm going to be doing some book signings, which I'm super excited about, at Auto Lot Impact, and that's at booth 7846 North, and I will be at Digital Dealership Button booth 4631 West. I'm going to be at Rockhead doing some stuff there, and I'm signing, and I don't even have it here, I am signing my newest book, which I haven't even told anybody about, 5 Steps to a 5-Star Experience. It is like a little pocketbook, 92 pages of how to elevate your experience. So I am so excited to be at NADA, and we're also going to be doing a really cool champagne pop-up for our women's community, which is now rising, and come and say hi. I want to see you all. So come say hi. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on the guest experience, and I'm going to sign and give you a book. All right, y'all, have an incredible, incredible day, an even better weekend. And I hope to see you at NADA. And if you're going to NADA, travel safe. Bye.